Hey, I'm Pastor Mike. I'm the lead speaker for Time of Grace Ministry, and I'm super excited that you're checking out this podcast. But before we jump in, I want to give you just a little backstory on how this podcast came to be. It's actually based on a book that I wrote called The Basics, which you might have guessed. And I wrote it because an older Christian that I know really pushed me to write it. His name is Bruce, and he has an incredible passion for helping people to understand the very basics and the beauty of our Christian faith. Bruce was a little concerned that sometimes we talk about Jesus and people are interested in Jesus, but they don't know an easy next step to take to explore more about Jesus. And listening to an entire sermon series or taking a 10-week class can feel like a bit too much. And so he encouraged and he nudged and he asked again and he nudged some more until we finally wrote this great book that I hope you enjoy called The Basics. It's really about the basics and the beauty of the Christian faith, understanding the bigness of God, the brokenness of people, the incredible, powerful gospel work of Jesus, and what it means to have faith and become a Christian. So I hope as you listen, this is a blessing to you if it's your first step in the Christian faith. If you've been following Jesus for a long time, I hope you can think about someone else that might need to hear this very easy next step, the basics of Christianity, so that we all together can gather around the cross of Jesus. Don't forget, you can also download a free ebook of the basics, all the chapters at once. Just go to timeofgrace.org/thebasics. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy chapter 1. Chapter 1. There's something about Jesus. Napoleon Bonaparte once admitted that there was something about Jesus. It wasn't Jesus' fame that set him apart, although he was historically incredibly famous. Nor was it Jesus' teaching about turning the other cheek or treating others as you would like to be treated, although those quotes have been quoted for the past 2,000 years. What was it that made Jesus so magnetic? Napoleon said this: Alexander, Caesar, Charlemagne, and myself founded empires. But upon what foundation did we rest the creations of our genius? Upon force. But Jesus Christ founded his empire upon love. And at this hour, millions of men would die for him. Love. In a world where all of us, from the quiet teenage girl to the seemingly confident CEO, ache to be loved, Jesus stands out. Recently, a young woman started coming to the church where I'm a pastor. After her first visit, she texted me, "Thought I'd try church because I'm an atheist. Starting to like it." After her second visit, she texted again, admitting that she had been struggling with impulsive behaviors and going back to some self-destructive habits. I immediately replied with a message about Jesus' love and his willingness to forgive, telling her that our church was filled with people who had battled and who were still battling addictions. Her response? "Now that I keep going to church, I believe there is a God, and Jesus will forgive me of my sins. Hard to wrap my head around sometimes." My response to her response? Quote, "I can't tell you how much I love this text. It's still hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that Jesus forgives me for my sins. I don't deserve it, but he still did it." Her response to my response to her response? Quote, "I almost cried last service because you talked about how he unconditionally loves us enough to have been there for us." My response to her response to my response to her response? Boom. I love moments like that. The times when I see the love of Jesus through fresh eyes as people hear about him for the very first time and are drawn to hear more. That's what kept her coming back. And that's what keeps me reading the Bible, going back to church, and talking to Jesus in my prayers. How about you? I'm not sure how this book ended up in your hands or in your ears. Maybe you're just watching TV or scrolling through social media when something got your attention, causing you to slow down your scroll just long enough to truly listen. Or maybe you just got done with church, and there was something unique about the message, something that surprised you about God or moved you about Jesus, and you picked up this book as a next step. Or maybe your life is a mess right now, and you're sitting in jail or staring at the wine bottle you polished off personally last night, and you know you need a new chapter in your life before it's too late. Or maybe you've realized, like billions of people before you, that there's something missing in your life. You've binged the latest shows, bought the latest stuff, upgraded your life in a dozen ways, but it hasn't been enough to truly satisfy your soul and give your life a direction and a purpose. Whatever got these words in front of your eyes or into your ears, I am grateful that you're here. And I imagine you have questions. I know my neighbor does. There's this guy who lives right next door to our church, close enough that I could kick a soccer ball from my parking spot and hit his bedroom window. He and I just seem to click. So I love talking to him about life, about work, about family. In recent months, he's even accepted my invitation to check out our church and listen to our messages about God, Jesus, and faith. Recently, however, he admitted to me, I feel like I'm starting in the middle of the movie. Maybe you felt that way too. You can be a very intelligent person and yet be very overwhelmed by all the information in the average church service or on any given page of the Bible. While you've likely heard the names Peter, Mary, and Jesus, you might not be so sure about Isaac, Isaiah, and the other 17 Marys who show up in this story. Add to all that the church lingo like grace, faith, saved, holy, glory, worship, and, quote, your walk with God, and all the other inside language that Christians use, you can feel pretty out of place. Or maybe, while the pastor talks about the Bible's plan for dating or parenting, you have more basic questions. What is God like? What does God think of when he thinks of me? What exactly was Jesus all about? How do I get saved, and what exactly does get saved even mean? What should I do next? If you feel sheepish about asking such basic questions, please don't be embarrassed. Plenty of other people in history did the exact same thing. When Jesus' friend Peter spoke to a massive crowd about the Christian faith, they responded with these words, "What shall we do?" And in the Bible, when a military man realized that he had some serious spiritual issues, he asked a Christian named Paul, "What must I do to be saved?" Questions like that are why I wanted to write this book. One of the best things about the Christian faith is its ocean-like depth. After 40 years of following Jesus, I still discover new things in the depths of the Bible. Yet, just like the ocean, there are basic truths that even first-time listeners can enjoy, like a child who giggles as she builds sandcastles at the edge of the water. Now, this book won't answer every question you have about God, Jesus, or faith, but I hope it helps you dip your toes in the water and experience the refreshing love that has captivated the hearts of billions of people. So, let's spend some time learning who God is, who you are, what Jesus did, and what faith has to do with it. God, you, Jesus, faith. Ready to discover the truths that have changed the world? Hey, thanks for listening. If you're finding this podcast helpful in your walk of faith, will you consider sharing it? You probably know that word of mouth is one of the best ways that we can help other people connect to God, the basics, and really beyond the basics of the Christian faith. So help people grasp the height, the width, the depth, the beauty, the worthiness of our Savior, Jesus Christ, by sharing this with someone that you know. Thanks, and have a great day.